Hi, welcome to Max in Minutes from Focal Press and 3D4Games.com. This is the first video in the series and is designed to introduce you to 3ds Max. First, we'll have a look around the interface, then we'll have a look at a few important settings, then I'll take you on a tour of the Create panel. Okay, let's get started. Regardless of which version of Max you're using, most of the following should be consistent with your version, unless you have a very old installation. If you do have an older version and can't follow along, just log on to the Autodesk website, which is at www.autodesk.com, and under Products, 3ds Max, you can download a free trial version for 30 days. The latest version is 3ds Max 2010. Okay, let's assume you have a fairly recent copy of Max and we can get started. First of all, let's briefly go over the main components of the user interface, or UI. Along the top we have the menu bar. The next one down from that is the main toolbar. Here we have the command panels. Then we have the object categories. Here is the rollout. Highlighted is the active viewport. Just right click to change any of the viewports to the active one. Down along the bottom is the time slider. Below that is the track bar. Next we have the Max script listener. Next to that is the prompt line and status bar. In the middle is the coordinate display. Then we have the animation keying controls. Next to that are the animation playback controls. And finally, the viewport navigation commands. Before we get into the Create panel, let me take you through a couple of basic settings that will really help you to get started. First, we're going to customize the number of undo actions that you can perform. To do this, we need to select Customize from the menu bar at the top and scroll down and left click Preferences. This should open a pop-up window titled Preference Settings. In the General tab, look at the scene undo levels and increase it from the default setting, which is usually 20, to something a bit bigger. Here I have mine set to 200. This will allow me to undo 200 steps in my process if I make a mistake or I need to go backwards. Next, we want to ensure the auto backup tool is turned on. Click the Files tab next to General and look down to the bottom left and make sure that Enable is checked. Then set how many backups you want to have. Here I've set Max to make an automatic backup every 5 minutes and to keep a total of 10 backup files. So if I get a crash or a power fail, I'll never lose all my work. These files are stored by default in the Autoback folder. Okay, now we're ready to move on to Create. Create is where you'll probably start every new scene or project. In Create there are a number of categories. We have Geometry, Shapes, Lights, Cameras, Helpers, Space Warps and Systems. Let's look at Geometry in a little more detail. The Geometry tools are split into a number of different subcategories. These are all accessible by clicking on the rollout. We will start by looking at Standard Primitives. Okay, this is where you can create your standard primitive objects. As you can see, they are box, sphere, cylinder, torus, teapot, cone, geosphere, tube, pyramid and plane. To create one of these, left click on the primitive of choice, in this case box, left click and drag to create your box, then release the mouse button, move forwards with the mouse and left click again to complete it. You can change the length, width and height here in the parameters rollout, and also the subdivisions of the box here by entering new numbers. If you can only see a wireframe of your box, you can left click in the viewport and use F3 to toggle the shading. Also, to zoom in all viewports, you can use the Zoom Extents All button down in the viewport navigation controls at the bottom right of the screen. To create a sphere, left click in the viewport, hold and drag the mouse, then release the button at the desired size. For cylinder, left click, hold and drag, release, move the mouse forwards and left, then click to complete. For the torus, left click and drag out for the size, then move the mouse and left click to finalize. For the teapot, just left click, drag and release. For the cone, left click and drag out and release for the radius, move the mouse forwards and left click again to set the height. Then move the mouse up and down to set the top radius, left clicking to finalize. Geosphere is the same as sphere. For tube, left click and drag for radius 1 and release. Move the mouse forwards and backwards, then left click again for radius 2. Move the mouse again and left click to set the height. I'm sure you have a good understanding of how these work, and remember you can always adjust the parameters by selecting one of them and choosing Modify from the Command Panel menu. Once you've created a few basic primitives, you can adjust them by using Move, Rotate and Scale from the main toolbar at the top of the screen. And to delete any objects, just select them by left clicking and press the Delete key. You can also select the Rectangular Selection Region tool to select a group of objects, then hit Delete to delete them all. Next we'll move on to the extended primitives. These work in exactly the same way as the standard primitives, so be sure to take a look at how they all work. Chamfer box, chamfer cylinder and oil tank can be great time savers, as can some of the others, particularly hose. Next we'll move on to compound objects. Compound objects generally combine two or more existing objects into a single object. These include morph for animation, conform, which can be used to lay down a footpath on a hillside for example, connect, which allows you to connect two objects between holes for attaching a handle to a vase for example, shape merge, which can be used to embed one object into another, boolean, which can be used to cut one object from another or to combine them together. You'll be using boolean a lot in your modelling. Terrain, to build landscapes from contour data. Loft, which uses one shape like the cross section of a road, which can then be lofted along a spline to create a racetrack or motorway bridge section. Pro cutter is used as a cookie cutter to cut one shape out of another. There's also blob mesh, mesher and pro boolean, which we won't cover here as you're less likely to use them when starting out. Next up we have particle systems, which are used to create effects such as snow, spray, clouds and dust for example. We will cover these in more detail in a later session. Then we have patch grids for patch modelling. A patch grid starts out as a flat surface which can be modified using controller handles once it has been converted to an editable patch. Next we have NURB surfaces, which are similar to patch grids. Then we have doors, of which there are three different types to choose from. Pivot, these are regular hinged doors, which you'll see most often. Sliding, as you'd expect, slide. And bifold, which are concertina style folding doors. We also have windows. These can be a real time saver, even more so than doors, due to their complexity if you were to model them from scratch. There are 6 types of window available to you: awning, fixed, projected, casement, pivoted and sliding. Have a look at each type and familiarise yourself with the differences between each one. Mental Ray is a renderer, particularly good at simulating lighting effects like caustic, which are underwater effects, and ray trace reflections. Then we have AEC extended objects. These are designed for use in architectural, engineering and construction fields, hence the AEC. AEC contains foliage, railing and wall. Have a good look at wall. It's incredibly useful for creating buildings and interiors very quickly. Next up we have dynamic objects. Dynamic objects are basically springs and dampers. Then we have stairs. Again, this is a fantastic tool to create 4 different types of staircase very quickly. The next object category is create shapes. A shape is an object made from curves or lines. First up are splines. A spline is a curve that connects 2 or more specific points or is defined by 2 or more points or vertices. Splines can be extruded to make shapes, or if they are closed or joined up, can be collapsed to create planes, editable meshes or NURB surfaces, which can in turn be extruded to form 3D objects very quickly. They can be used with various modifiers such as lathe to create 3D objects, or to loft objects using splines as a path and a shape, as well as many different ways. 3D text can be created very quickly from the spline menu. NURBS curves and extended splines can also be found here in the drop-down menus. Moving along the object categories, we have create lights and create cameras. All of your skylights, spotlights and omnilights, as well as cameras, can be created here. We'll cover these in later sessions. Next we have helpers. Dummy and delegate are often used in animation. There are a number of useful tools such as tape to measure, compass, protractor, etc. Finally, we have space warps and systems. Space warps are invisible objects that affect the appearance of other objects, creating ripples, waves, wind and so on. A space warp only affects the objects that are bound to it. In systems, we have bones and biped for animation, and a few more useful tools such as ring array, daylight and sunlight. This brings us to the end of the tour through the Create menu. I hope this brief guide has introduced you to a lot of tools and features which will allow you to create a number of complex scenes and models very quickly. Have a look at the other videos in the range to improve your modelling and understanding of 3ds Max. Next in the series is a brief tour through the Modify panel. Here you'll learn how to manipulate all the objects you've learned to create in this video, and also an introduction to many of the modifiers available to you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next guide. For support with this video and any of the others in the range, log on to www.3d4games.com/forum and your questions will be answered once you've logged in. Good luck and see you in the next video.